to Exceller Author Podcast. Today, we are delighted to feature Dr. Gautam Chakraborty, a development finance expert, storyteller, and author whose life journey is as dynamic as the stories he shares. His book, Chasing Horizon, is a poignant and deeply engaging memoir that traces his experiences growing up as an Air Force child in 1980s India. In his heartfelt narrative, Dr. Chakraborty reflects on what it means to live as a perpetual outsider, constantly moving, adapting, and finding one's place amidst changing landscapes. From navigating the disciplined world of military life to embracing a rebellious spirit, his story captures the humor, challenges, and defining moments that shape identity. Facing Horizons reminds us that life's most turbulent journeys often lead us to the greatest wisdom and the most compelling stories. From watching fighter jets soar above in Air Force bases, to structuring multi-million dollar impact bonds, Dr. Chakraborty's life has been a remarkable pursuit of purpose. His work in development finance and social impact across India, combined with his rich personal experiences, brings a unique depth and authenticity to his life. We extend a warm welcome to Dr. Chakraborty to the Exceller Author Podcast.
Thank you. It's a honor.
Pleasure, sir. So to begin our conversation, my first question to you would be, Chasing Horizons offer a vivid and personal glimpse into your childhood as an Air Force brat. What inspired you to revisit and share these memories in the powerful memoir?
Actually, that's a pretty interesting question because I'd also mentioned in my memoir somewhere deep within, I do feel a nagging pull that maybe I could have taken a different path. But at this stage, I think whatever experience I have gained, all have enriched me. But then I felt there's a story to tell, a story about something that most Indians don't really know or come across, especially like if we really see how things have evolved, how historical events sometimes people read in newspapers or may see on television is actually lived experiences that people must have gone through. So I had been thinking about this for quite a long time, but there was not a single moment of inspiration. It was more like a gradual recognition that I had lived what felt like several lifetimes in one, and also internal need that I need to stitch all these fragments together into something coherent. And I realized that I had witnessed things that, as I said, deserved documentation before I forget, whether it is the Operation Blue Star that I watched from my windows, or the Indira Gandhi assassination when I was right there in Punjab and all these things were happening. So, as I said, these historical events is what had shaped me because I had lived all these things. And therefore, as a Air Force brat, it's something unique that needs to be told before my memory fades, and also for the larger audience to realize that there are children growing up in India in certain very peculiar circumstances, and they might be coming across them, but they need to know where these people are coming
So,
from.
was there a specific experience that you would like to share with the audience from your childhood, that has stayed with you?
Actually, there are many, but I think one experience that I had also written in my book is about the first time that I took flight. Mostly people fly in, say, airlines and all that, but my first flight was in a microlight aircraft where my father was posted in NCC in the cockpit. And I had grown up watching fighters fly. I had always marveled at the pilots who fly these machines. But having actually sitting in the cockpit, looking at all the gadgets, looking at the runway when we are taking off or the runway looming up when you are going to land, I think that's really amazing that it stayed. But there are so many other events also that, but yeah, I mean, so one event, I think that would be very defining.
How old were you? Like, you were
I was in
with the
class
pilot?
uh, just past class 6, so 12 years old that point of time. So just getting into my teens. So I think that is the reason that it stayed with me.
Is it with NCC Air Force kind of a thing? Like, there's an NCC
Exactly. The
Navy,
Air
NCC,
NCC,
yeah.
yeah, Air NCC. It has a flying
Mm.
club where the college students who do senior division Air NCC, they get the experience of flying, get a pilot license. But my father was posted there as an instructor. So some privileges that normally people really don't get. But yeah.
Fascinating. Must be even more fascinating to be with. experience it.
Exactly. The living experience, especially when the runway looms up and you are going to touch and realizing every landing. And I had told many of my colleagues later also, every landing is actually a controlled crash. So, so how you manage it, living that, sitting in the passenger seat in airlines, you don't feel it, but in the cockpit, you really see how you are controlling that crash. So,
Do you
yeah,
also like feel it more in the cockpit?
because it's like the almost 180-degree view you have. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's a lot of rush of adrenaline also, like even a crash
True.
and
Especially for a 12-year-old boy, I think, yeah, that was something very amazing.
no wonders why it stayed with you.
True.
So my second question will be,
Mhm.
your story beautifully balances discipline and rebellion. How did growing up in a military environment shape your personality and your worldview?
That is something which actually I had shared with many of my colleagues also in later years, especially as we have matured further. Because there are certain things that growing up in a military environment instills in you. Because mostly we are aware or we see military as people who are in uniform, the officers and men who go through that. But then we forget many times that every one person who is wearing an uniform has a family. So there are 3 or 4 people along with those people who are living the same experience. May not be firing a gun or flying a fighter, but they're going through the same experiences, same tension, same excitement, same the feeling of uh, nowadays is much abused term hyper nationalism. But the moment there is a national anthem playing, the tendency just to stand. Uh, the moment there is the tricolor unfurled, the urge to stand and salute. So those are some things that gets ingrained in you. But I think there are certain ethos that really comes in those environment that is a little different from the other places, especially like the general tendency that if there is a trouble, if there is something danger, it's a very valid thing to move away from that danger. So whether it's your family or people, whenever there is something disruption happening, you tend to move away. But in the military, it's just the opposite. You need to face it, take it by its horn, and solve it. So that attitude actually also helped me in my career because there might be 99% chance of a failure, but that 1% chance of success is what you take on, which sometimes professionally seems very illogical, but that is how the military operates, because military has to succeed at any cost. They do not have the luxury to come second or third. You have to be the winner or you die.
Successful, yes.
So those things really get ingrained. And then also there's so many other things, like even the motto of Indian Air Force, which Sanskrit means Nabha Sparsham Deeptam. In English, it means touching the sky with glory. Now, once you imbibe that, you really feel that a very cliche term called sky is the limit. But what does it mean practically? Practically, what it means is there is no limit to excel. You have to just keep excelling on and on. You could never reach the, okay, this is the last excel that I have. So you have to keep on excelling. So that is one thing. Secondly, uh, also when officers cadets get commissioned in the Indian Military Academy, there is something called Chetwood uh, Chetwood pledge or motto that is written there. The first sentence says that uh, the honor and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The comfort and safety of people under your responsibility comes next. Your own comfort and safety comes last, always and every time. So if you imbibe that, that is the epitome of leadership. So whenever I'm like leading a project or working in an organization, my own comfort comes always last. It is how I fulfill the objective. The objective has to be something meaningful for the country and its people. So these things get imbibed in you. And of course, there is this discipline along with the spontaneity, because military needs to be disciplined. But any war that is won because something unimaginable has been done. So the success to winning, and that is also coming in green. Success to win is trying to think differently. If you think in the same box, you won't succeed because people already knew what is expected from you. So you need to think differently, but then still be disciplined. So these are some of the contradictions that gets ingrained in you, and I think that is something even for the civilian world, it would really benefit if these ethos are something that people also follow. So yeah, these are something that I imbibed and tried to propagate.
I think I'm a UPSC aspirant myself, and I have seen these videos of passing out parades in the IMA and the
Right.
OTA, and also in the Indian Police Academy for the
Right.
IPS services.
Right.
And the way they take the shapath and the oath, and how every single branch has their own motto. Like you said, Navam Sparsham Deeptam for Air Force.
Right.
So the Labasana for UPSC has
Mhm.
Kilam Param Bhushanam, which means,
Exactly.
and I think it's fascinating that how once either if you like you said, one person is in the service, but also the others are also connected with that person. So that
Exactly.
motto slowly you imbibe that with or without wanting to imbibe it, and I think that also shapes what personality you might have in your future, and that is what has happened in your case as well.
Exactly.
Um, would you kind of like to elaborate a little bit more on how your story beautifully balances between discipline and rebellion? Because
I think there are two, three aspects, like because I have mainly covered my growing up years. So, especially as normally happens with any teenager, teenager is all about rebellion. You would like to break things away. You always see grown ups and things that are there as something that is holding you back. Would like to unshackle
the barrier.
that barrier. And with me, what was very beautiful, and one of the reasons I wanted to have this memoir is that was the exact period when in a way, intellectually, I was getting more fascinated by Marxist Leninist philosophy about leftist movement, the revolutionary movement of Cuba, Palestine, Vietnam. But just in front of my eyes, that was the exact period where communism was getting wiped out. Eastern Europe, Russia, uh, the statues of Lenin fell. Every country was turning away from communism to capitalism. So that cognitive dissonance, that something that I really held that is an answer to people's pain. Is it really just a utopia and not really practical? So when I got exposed, especially in college, the Mandal Commission and something for the youth to do to unshackle what the powers are trying to do, whether it's the Mandal Commission thing or even other. So essentially, a youth movement, a youth political movement, which tries to project the power of youth at something new, something needs to be heard. Again, in first year, it was when the first Gulf War happened and the US invaded Iraq. Of course,
Right.
Iraq had earlier invaded Kuwait, but the act of US invading Iraq was something for my psychology, a global hegemony. And with Soviet Union out, there is no one stopping this the global gunda. So, so that was also something that kept bothering me. But on the other hand, because I was growing up in the military environment, I really saw that whatever needs to be done, there has to be a particular method. It has to be thought of. It cannot be reactionary because anything reactionary is likely to fail. So, meticulous planning, strategic planning, taking everybody on board, the team spirit, going by those ethos and values, and especially the military is so different. Again, I think I have written somewhere in my book also that had I got the chance of an interview uh, of why I want to join army, I would have mentioned that this is the only organization, although it's a government organization, the only organization where people live and die for something which is not very commonly appreciated in the civilian world, which is honor.
Mhm.
So honor, national honor, honor of your regiment, of your platoon, of your unit, and even you can sacrifice your life for that. So that is something which is very moving. And I think these two tensions, on one hand, the rebellion, the cognitive dissonance, on the other hand, the structure, the order, and a place for both. You need to have both. I think that conflicting thing is something I really wanted to bring out in my book also, which has actually
I
shaped.
think the very first thing that you said, that the world shifting from communism to capitalism is something that shattered you. I think I just observed a similarity. I think in the military background, or in the military for that matter, although it has a certain sort of hierarchy, of course, because it has to perform in that way. But I think it also beautifully balances it. Like it's a weird mix of hierarchy with the communals with. You have
Exactly.
an hierarchy,
Exactly.
but you also know how to do things together. You also know how to live together, how to work for one another, which is not present in the day-to-day life established in the world. And I think
Actually, there is something I can just point out to that because you mentioned this. Officers in the Indian Army are just, I think, 2 to 3% of the force. But if you look at battle casualties, officer casualties, especially young officer casualties, will be almost 5 to 6%. So proportionately, double the amount of officers
Amount of, yes.
died in battle, and more than 50% of them died not while fighting the enemy, but while saving the people that they. So yes, there is hierarchy, but that communal feeling where you can give your life to protect your junior is something really, really worth appreciating.
In the hierarchy is proportional to responsibility here, unlike in the real
Exactly.
world,
Exactly.
which means more hierarchy is more responsibility. But in our in the day-to-day
True.
life, hierarchy means more power and more control. That's not the case. Yeah, I think
True.
that's
True.
something we should all follow but well. And I think the one of the main reasons why communism is being wiped out globally is that people and I don't know about maybe young leaders, they cannot somehow idealize the spirit of communalism in themselves. Somewhere or the other, they are like shifted between that spirit of communalism and the strive to acquire more power and control themselves, which the capitalist world offers.
Again, that is something which not only I felt, because once communism fell, I was already in college studying
Right.
political science, and then I
Right.
got into MBA. So business is basically capitalist. So I was actually questioning myself that why is it uh, happening, and why are things like this? The answer to I gave myself why communism fell is, I think, whether it is communism, whether it is fascism, whether it is complete individualism and libertarian movement, we cannot be just one sided. There has to be a mix, because people are not isolated. They are in social groups, they are in professional groups, they have their own identity. So everything has to come together, and things like revolution cannot sustain. Things have to evolve for it to percolate and be accepted. If you by force do something, there is an opposition which will take you down at some point of time. So things need to evolve, and there are cultural contexts again, which especially in the last two chapters of my book, when I was talking about the Rajasthan culture and the Bikaner and that region and the beauty in the desert and all those things, there I actually felt that things are so contextual. You cannot come from outside and pass a value judgment that this is wrong, this is right. It has
Yeah.
to evolve from within to be accepted. Only that is sustainable. So
I
communism,
think
capitalism is all about discussions. What remains is what people accept.
yeah, I think because if any ideology, be it communism, be it capitalism, if it is an extremist signal by nature, it would
Exactly.
create problems. It has to have a middle ground, like a space of hybrid. My third question to you would be: the idea of a perpetual outsider is a powerful theme in your book. So, like, how did this feeling influence your personal growth and choices that you made within your life?
Very interesting. I'm saying interesting because that is something I had felt almost every day. Anybody I meet will ask me, okay, where are you from? Such a simple question, but so difficult for me to answer. Am I a Bengali? Yes, but who, who who do I belong to? Uh, it's basically I'm an Indian. Uh, I'm not a Bengali. I'm not born in particular geography and region. So that in a way also makes you an outsider, because in Bengal I'm an outsider. In UP, Kanpur, I was born in Kanpur, but in UP I'm an outsider. Uh, in the military circles, I'm a civilian. I can't even get into the military camps now that my father is no longer there. So everywhere I'm an outsider, and in a way not acceptable. So that causes some negative tension, that why am I not accepted? But on the other hand, I think it gives you a vantage point, because as an outsider, you can observe things that you cannot when you are inside in the whole chaos. So if you are in a traffic jam, you are so caught up in the jam, you really don't know where to come out from. Only when you are hovering above, you know where to come out from.
Escape. Yes.
And also another thing, and that is also something I have written in my book, like an outsider, you get much more access. So in a typical Rajasthan society, which is very hierarchical, feudal, uh, the Brahmins cannot meet and dine with Rajputs. They cannot meet and dine with the Muslims and all. But because I was an outsider, I was accepted by everybody. So I could go to everybody and learn every culture. So I think you gain access because you are an outsider and don't carry a particular tag of a caste or a community or a religion and all that. So I think both these tensions play out. So sometimes you are not accepted, but sometimes you get more access than others can.
Access without repercussions
Access without a color. People are
or
not
judgment.
expecting anything from you because
Right.
otherwise, as a Brahman, they accept something. As a Rajput, they accept something. But you are going with without an expectation, and therefore it's much more easier to have a conversation to get accepted.
Also, what you just said about not being accepted anywhere, like being at the liminal space. If you,
Exactly.
I'm sure you're aware of Homi Bhabha's theory of cultural hybridity.
Right.
That's something he talks about. That when you're always at the liminal space, you don't have a space to belong, and that is like you have this hyphenated identity, Indian
Mm.
American,
Right. Right. Right.
Bengali Muslim,
Mm.
that kind of a thing.
True.
Talking about. My fourth question to you would be: your career spans across development, finance, social impact, and innovation. How have your professional experiences influenced your storytelling and the way you reflect on your past?
I think it has been the other way around actually,
Okay.
because the way I grew up, the way I imbibed things in my past had influenced more my professional work. As I told you, even if there is 1% chance of success, I would rather take that. If there is anything that I am doing which may even obliquely be not useful for harmful for my country and the people, I will not do it and not allow my organization to do it. Uh, Ensuring that people working with me have all the comfort before ensuring my own comfort. So those things really came along. But talking specifically about the experience of working in the development sector, what you really realize, because when you work in the development sector, especially development finance, and the kind of finance that I work with, which is blended finance, which is looking at both commercial investments as well as philanthropic grants, CSR grants, and government grants fused together, which means the finance have to ensure uh, the social returns as well as financial returns. So mostly we tend to talk about numbers, whether it is amount of money or number of people benefited and all that. But finally, I have seen what moves people to make an investment decision or to say this project is better than that project are those human interest stories. So we need to go beyond the numbers, get into the stories. And that is something that I really carry from my childhood, which I also imbibed in some of the chapters. Just as I said, the experience of Operation Blue Star. People would have read what happened in Operation in the Golden Temple in Amritsar, but I was right there, looking from my windows, soldiers crawling under fire, my windows shaking because of the blasts. Similarly, hardly anybody in the civilian world knows about the Operation Brass Tacks, but there was a time when 87, 88, India and Pakistan were almost on the verge of getting into a war, and both the armies were eyeball to eyeball, and I was seeing the mock air combat exercises, camouflaging that was happening. My father coming home and saying where to hide if there is a bombing, how or where to keep all your valuables, that if we need to quickly evacuate, what needs to be done. So all these things, I think, gets imbibed in a way, and you would is beyond just what you read in the newspaper. So that living experience, and I think in the development sector also, when I imbibed that, looking at the living experience, it was much beyond the return on investment or social return on investment or number of people benefited, but how it touched their lives. And that is the pitch that I would always make to a investor or a CSR or a government to really come up with a story. So I think both these lives had really helped me in both professional development as well as my
I
psychology.
think the way you are brought up, the environment and the background, has really led you to understand life more intricately than other people. And when you understand life more intricately, you automatically understand the stories behind the numbers, the stories
Right.
behind the realities and what is the facts.
And also, especially like again, I would refer to the last two chapters in my memoir, especially the Rajasthan, where because I was coming mainly from the military camp lifestyle is very urban and very cosmopolitan with all the individualistic and all those values. But when I confronted the so-called feudal and those cultures in Rajasthan, I was initially like, what is this? Why are people asking me what is my caste? Just being
Right.
a Indian, isn't it good enough? But then slowly understanding that you cannot pass a value judgment until and unless you are into it. And there's always a reason why certain values, why certain customs, why certain kind of food habits evolve. It's not something imposed. So that is something I really wanted to carry in my development, especially when we are talking about, say, health or any other sector in the development sector. People always talk about something called behavior change communication. So people need to change behavior. It needs to be more rational. And I always question that who are we to pass a judgment that that is irrational? Who are we to communicate people to change their behavior? If they are doing something, there is certainly a reason, good or bad. There is a reason why they are doing something. So we need to be more nuanced, more understanding, and not just paradrop in a particular village or district, say, okay, change this. We cannot do that. So that is something I really carried. And this, yes, understanding that things are more intricate and things have to be more embedded in the living history of people. And social change doesn't happen by government order or some projects being.
And if you're asking the people, asking another culture to behave as per yours or as per your ideology, then you are again imposing your ideology on them.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
for a diverse country like India, it doesn't work that way because every state will have their own food, own culture, own beliefs, own. So a person's behavior is often centered around these things. What might
Exactly.
be a good thing in their culture might not be a good thing in our culture.
True. Yeah.
For example, Christians like blankets, we don't, but
Mhm.
it's a cultural thing. We can really question that.
True.
Uh, my last question to you would be, um, how was your journey with excellent books? How did the publication of the book come across, and how did the publishing house make it easier for you?
I think good that you asked because, as I said, I had been reliving my childhood or that growing up years all throughout my adulthood. And I had been speaking to my colleagues. And since long, I was thinking that why don't I put it in writing? And I was really wondering whom to approach. But when I did a web search, I came across XLR books, read some of the statements, testimonials from other authors. So I felt a bit encouraged, but especially when I shared the first few pages and I got this kind of feedback, that was really encouraging. So I think more than the process, well, there is this contract and all this, and that is fine. But that initial encouragement for a first time author that, okay, what you are thinking is worth writing. And
Right.
especially, again, as I mentioned in the foreword of my book, also, there are certain embarrassing moments that I had
Okay.
captured. Certain things might be having very strong value judgment, whether from a military value point of view or from any child adolescent point of view. The fact that the editors in Exceler kept those things intact and only did editing around the structure and not really taking out or in a way encouraging me to be more open and not really uh, binding me to a particular structure of writing. I think that was very encouraging, especially for a first time author. So that encouragement, that continuous support, and of course, means I would also say that whoever designed the cover page, it really captured what I really wanted to. So all that thing. So there's nothing one, but all that, the encouragement, the support, the quality of output, whether it's the cover page, whether it's the way it is structured, the font size, and everything, and of course, post launch, the opportunity to place it in Kolkata Book Fair, the Delhi Book Fair. So all that I think is very very encouraging for a first time author like me. So thanks really to Excellent for making this happen. Means whatever there in my mind, at least it is now out. Thanks to Excellent.
It's a pleasure, sir, to have your book published and also have you on the podcast today. With that, we come to the close of the interview session, of the podcast session. It has been a pleasure speaking to you, Dr. Chakraborty. Congratulations on the release of Chasing Horizons, a memoir that is insightful as it is engaging. The journey is
Thank you,
truly inspiring, and your story is sure to resonate with readers across the country and generation.
thank you, thank you really
My
for
pleasure, sir.
being with me along this process. So thanks.
My pleasure, sir. And we wish you continued success in all your endeavors and look forward to what will be next. And For our listeners who are listening to this podcast, Chasing Horizons it will be available in print on Amazon.in, Amazon.com, Booktopia, and Bookscape, and as an ebook on Google Play. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.